This will only be a quick video. There is a practice that you can do within the next 5 minutes that will drastically help your future relationships. I've just done it. I've just ended things with the girl I was currently dating because I've done this practice. On the left-hand side of a double-sided like notebook, write down what you want from your future wife. And I know this seems abrupt and stuff, but this is a really good message that I want to put to you first, and then I'll explain like the story and whatever afterwards. On the left-hand side, just write down what I want my wife to be like, and go through as much detail as you can. And the categories that I've used is family, history, especially sexual past. That's literally one of the most important parts of history. Personality, friends, character, and anything else you can think of there. Write that down in, I wrote this at the top of this page here, best case scenario. If you are an ambitious young man and you expect to become quite successful, quite driven, quite like, a prize, then write down the absolute best case scenario. So you want, for example, other people will disagree and they'll say this is unlikely, but you want your 10 out of 10 in all ways, right? Your physical, the character and everything like that. You want like that absolute best case scenario, and it's just write it down with no filter on a private like piece of paper that no one can see, because it might feel a little bit cringe to write down certain details. It might feel kind of uncomfortable, especially when, like, I think a really big part to talk about is the things which are quite controversial, like her family, her sexual history and stuff. These are things that a lot of guys don't speak about, a lot of guys don't think about. And things like personality, like her friends, her network, her character, what's her values, the sense of humor, what she looks like, as much detail as you want. Mine was just one page. Then I did the next page then for the girl that I was dating, and I won't go into like too much detail out of respect for her, but like essentially it just didn't match, and it made me realize that I was in this relationship more for the short-term pleasure that is gained from having sex with a person and connecting with them, and like the good feels of a relationship, rather than the long-term value that would come from a partnership which leads to like literally 20, 40 years of a relationship, of children and marriage. I've changed a lot since my original red pill days. I'm no longer this guy who only craves like promiscuity and hooking up and who values that. In fact, that's something I really have tried to devalue in my life. It's been a long-term project for me to not strive for the short-term like hookups that the modern degenerate world gives to us. I understand if you don't want to do this. What I'm asking you to do here, of like writing down this list of what your like the wife that you want to have who would have your children. The idea is that once you write this down, you are now held accountable to stay single and actually stay celibate, to not have sex up until you meet that woman. If you actually want to, like, don't click away right now, because this is going to start to make you feel uncomfortable. If you have watched hundreds of my videos, think to yourself right now that this is a message I've decided to put out there to almost 2 million people, like subscribers and everything. Just think to yourself right now, if you have benefited from my videos before, that I think this is one of the most, at least for a man like me, I think this is one of the most important lessons that you could get. Once you've written down and really clarified what you would want in your wife, for you to maximize the success of your future family, you would choose to stay single and to actually stay celibate. Because if you don't stay single, if you get into a relationship with a girl who doesn't match that criteria, or if she matches the criteria, then 100%, okay, go on. And we could still make a mistake and stuff, of course, like what you write down right now may not be objectively the universal truth of what would have been the best wife for you. It's with your current awareness, but it probably would be a good step in the future, rather than just blindly going in using Tinder and using Instagram and everything, meeting a girl and she's kind of cute and you guys have sex and it's kind of awesome and stuff. Before you blindly go in, just think to yourself that if you did actually stay single, you would, one, work harder because you wouldn't be distracted by any kind of relationship, and two, you will not be able to clear-headedly get into a relationship that is with a woman who is not your future wife, because the only reason you would get into that, it's for the short term, and for a fact that thinking about the short term does not lead to success. You're on this journey, you're watching this kind of content because you want to be like a top tier successful man, and it requires sacrifices, and this is the one sacrifice that I have so hardly struggled with, and you probably feel somewhat of the same. I understand right now, I can imagine like my YouTube analytics is dropping because people don't want to be held accountable to this, and just tell us the 5 quick tips to get girls. But this is like, well, once you've gotten the girls, bro, once you're okay at attracting girls, which doesn't take that long, like get a 6-pack, make a little bit of money, get some some confidence. You know, that's like a 6 to 12 month period, maybe a little bit longer. You know, you're getting into more social life and everything. But once you know how to attract girls, one of the things that you don't actually learn online is actually like, what is the ultimate best case scenario? We are not average guys who just want like some kind of mediocre relationship or mediocre life, are we? You never wanted that. If you did, you never start consuming this kind of content before. So that means that you want the best case scenario, and we know for a fact that the best case scenario is being in a like strongly loving family, and that family has to be in a marriage. Okay, in the modern day, there's so many people, and I was one of these, who say like, no, don't get married because, you know, the government's, you know, feminism and all this. Bro, you know, you can get married without the government actually being involved. You know, there's like religious marriages which aren't in part of like the government contract, and maybe the government could maybe look at them when they're doing some bullshit. It's like, you can, like, if you want to maximize the success of your family and your children, it has to be through marriage. It has to be.